Welcome to the Saturday Slam and Jam here on the Athletic NBA Daily. On today's show, we're talking to Bryce Simon about the NBA playoffs and the lottery. Plus, we'll do some trivia. With me, as always, is my good friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
Good evening, Andrew.
Good evening. We are recording this after the San Antonio Spurs defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves. And our special guest, a guest that Alex and I determined is like the most perfect guest to talk both playoffs and lottery, is our friend Bryce Simon. Bryce, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? No, that's I guess I don't know how many people cover the NBA at large in the NBA draft. I don't want to say as well as I do because I don't know if I do it well or not, but I at least try to do
come
both.
Come on.
Bryce, I think you're a
yet
five-tool
again-
player.
That's right.
We can add
That's a
trivia
baseball
onto
reference.
that. That's three tools.
Well, we're definitely down to 4 max because trivia is not my thing. We all know this. As always, I like to just note that I have no idea what I'm going to do Saturday morning for my workout now that I don't have the Slam and Jam to listen to. So this is always the worst part of me coming on and recording with you guys is then I have to find something else in the queue to listen to Saturday morning.
Do you never listen to your own pods? You never throw in a game theory?
Never. No. So
Never.
Early on I did because I would have a lot of and now I can pick up on them. I know I say like too much and those type of things, but
Yeah.
I hate the sound of my own voice. The other day, my students found it and they were playing it in class and I legitimately yelled at them to turn it off because I didn't want to hear myself talk
That's
anymore.
awesome.
So
That rules. That is amazing. Okay, so we're going to go through each playoff series. We're going to ask you one question. Well, actually, we have two for the Cleveland-Detroit series because you're an expert there. Because not only are you in the Game Theory podcast, but you also host a podcast called the Pistons Pulse Podcast, and it's a great show. I've been on it before, and I listen to it regularly, and you should too. So let's talk about that series first. In the regular season, Cleveland had a top 10 offense per cleaning the glass and were ranked 6th in half-court offense. In Game 2, the Cavs scored 84.4 points per 100 possessions in the half court and only took 6 shots in the restricted area. The Cavs have been much better at home in the playoffs, but besides just playing at home, is there anything you think the Cavs should be trying offensively to find more success against this Pistons defense?
I mean, I think the easy answer here is James Harden just has to be better, right? This is a lot of the concerns with that trade. And I don't know. We had this conversation on the Pistons Pulse the other day on where this Cleveland team would be if they didn't make the trade. And I know Darius Garland was healthy by the end of the season for the Clippers. And I don't know it'd be a fun conversation at the end of the year whenever the season ends for Cleveland. But right now, Donovan Mitchell had a pretty good game and James Harden has had one good quarter in 8 quarters of this series. And I think the biggest thing for Detroit right now is I'm going to give Cade Cunningham a lot of credit. They have 2 quality perimeter defenders on the court at all times, and that includes in the starting lineup. Asar Thompson is going to take one of those guys, and Cade has been able to take the other matchup while 2 of them are on the court. And then obviously Cleveland staggers their minutes a lot, and then Detroit can come off the bench with a Ron Holland, a Karis LeVert, Danius Jenkins does some of that stuff. So I think the story for me is Detroit has just been able to match those 2 guys on the perimeter enough to make their lives hard. And James Harden hasn't been able to really handle that yet. And then also Cleveland just hasn't shot the 3 ball well, guys. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but they didn't shoot it great through those first 2 games. And so we'll see how they shoot it at home. The loss of Sam Merrill is something that has not been discussed, I think, by most people.
Yeah.
I think it was a hamstring like 4 or 5 minutes into game 1, and that changes some things for them as well. Like that is a real floor spacer and shot maker for them. I anticipate we see a pretty good offensive effort from Cleveland on Saturday afternoon, but I obviously give a ton of credit to the Detroit defense.
So every year there's these conversations about player archetypes that do better or worse in the playoffs. In recent years, there's been this focus on how difficult it can be for an offensively limited defense first player to succeed in the playoffs. Now, Asar Thompson is the type of player who might typically fall into that bucket, but he's clearly been able to find success in these playoffs. What have you thought? Obviously, he's been great defensively, but what have you thought about his offensive contributions so far in these playoffs?
You know what's funny, guys, is Detroit's really breaking the trend of having two non-floor spacers, right? Like not two, not him and Jalen Duren. It's not like one of them is a bad shooter or one of them is going through a shooting
Right.
slump or something. Like, those guys are non-shooters, like whatsoever. The funny thing is, Asar almost hit into the shot clock or maybe into the third quarter three the other
I
night, but
know.
it was after the buzzer. Um, he so I think with the SAR, one, he pushes pace and transition. So I think that is one thing. If you are this archetype of player that can't space the floor and shoot the ball whatsoever, you have to be good at the other things. You have to be able to push in transition and break down the defense and then spray it out to shooters. You have to be able to finish out of the dunker spot or attack the offensive rebounds. And with his athleticism, that's something he's capable of doing. So when he gets forgotten on the offensive end, he can cut on the baseline. He can go attack an offensive rebound. And so he's been able to, I wouldn't say he's contributing a ton to the offense, but he's not limiting it. And I think that's what's most important for that type of player because the defensive impact is just as good as it gets. I
Yeah.
feel pretty comfortable saying he's the best perimeter defender in the NBA. I'm sure some people will disagree, but I feel pretty confident with that. And his defense does translate so much to offense. Now, to your point though, Alex, we have seen JB not trust him in clutch time. In game one, he didn't play
Yeah.
down the stretch. Danish
Mhm.
Jenkins did. And so you do see them have to make concessions and decisions because of his offensive limitations throughout a game.
Let's move on to the Thunder Lakers series. The big story so far in this series has been the Lakers' aggressive defensive schemes against Shea. On one hand, he's had two of his least productive games this season with a season high 7 turnovers in game one. And then on the other hand, OKC has won both games by 18 points. So, first question, do you think the Lakers' defensive strategy has been successful enough to continue doing it for the rest of the series? And then the second question, do you think the other teams should try to like replicate what the Lakers are doing in rounds to come?
So I'm gonna take the second one first. I would say no. I don't think I don't think Minnesota or San Antonio would use this strategy, not to the extent that LA is, simply because those teams have good on ball primary defenders that they can at least tell themselves can go in and guard Shea, right? San
Yeah.
Antonio has a couple different guys they can try, including, rookie Carter Bryant. That would be a lot of fun if we end up getting that series. Obviously, Steph Castle in the starting lineup. Minnesota with Jaden McDaniels. If Anthony Edwards is fully healthy by that point, he played a bunch of minutes tonight, so I assume he would be. He could take some, minutes, not a ton of time, but some of that. Even Eastern Conference, if it's Detroit coming out of the East, we just mentioned Asar. If it's the Knicks, it's, hopefully OG would be healthy by then. He could take that. LA doesn't have that guy. I know Marcus Smart was that guy at one point, but I don't think he's that guy now. And so I think this is probably LA thinking this is their best chance. The issue is Oklahoma City just there's too much other talent on the roster. I think again when you talk about underrated storylines, AJ Mitchell, right? Like you guys know this better than me, but to me, that's without J Dub, him being able to do what he does off the dribble, make the mid-range jumpers, get to the rim. And then Chet is having an insane efficiency
Yeah.
playoffs, not even series, just playoffs
Yeah.
right now. Hartenstein's ability to pass. There's just not a whole lot of ball stoppers on that team. And unless you just catch them on a really, really cold 3-point shooting night, I don't know that it's going to be a great strategy. So, I mean, what is the great strategy against Oklahoma City, right? They're a great team for a reason. I don't blame JJ Redick for going to it, but I don't know that it's going to work. And I don't think teams moving forward will probably use it because I think they will think they have individual defenders to take on that matchup.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch because it like I've never seen Shea, or at least this season, have not seen Shea look like this in back-to-back games. And so, like, clearly something is working, and you do start to see. I felt like they've been getting better at playing out of the double, um,
Mm.
as you know the quarters have gone on. So I kind of I agree with you. I totally get it from LA's point of view, and I respect it, and I really am impressed that they came into this series with a very clear defensive strategy. And it's hard to say that it's working because, yes, they have won both games by 18 points, but I don't necessarily think it's their fault. I don't think it's the fault of the game plan. Like I do give some credit to JJ Redick.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen JJ do this a little bit. Like I think JJ's a good coach. Like he's a smart coach. I think he can come up with, these game plans and these strategies and all of that. And yeah, again, I don't blame him because I don't know who are you going to say I'm going to put this guy on Shea and that's going to really slow him down if we just put him on an island. Maybe we see some tweaks with it or something like that. But I mean, I think LA is a little bit outmatched in this series.
Yeah.
I felt that way going in. My guess is they get one in LA and then Oklahoma City will close it out in 5. And I do just want to say how impressive this is for the Thunder. We talk about all these teams and injuries and health. It seems like almost every team has had to deal with it to some extent. Um, and they don't seem to be missing a beat without their second best player, or what was their second best player last year. Maybe,
Mhm.
based on games played and minutes this year, maybe everybody would say Chet is this year just because J-Dub's been unhealthy. But it's really impressive what they're doing. And again, I can't shout out AJ Mitchell, let alone Jared McCain, right? Like that's the other aspect of it is the
Oh, yeah.
floor spacing and the shooting that they can have on the court whenever you want to try to defend Shea this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two guys who did not contribute really to the playoff run last year.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Jared McCain didn't, but AJ Mitchell wasn't playing a lot back then, and they don't win that game. I really don't think they win that game too without those two guys.
agreed.
Okay, Knicks Philly. This is the series closest to being over. The Knicks went up 3-0. Sixers gave them a good fight for a lot of the game, but the Knicks eventually pulled away. They won Game 3 without OG Anunoby, who's out with a hamstring injury. If they sweep the series on Sunday, here's a stat for you, folks. It will be 7 straight playoff victories, which will be a franchise record. Now, that's pretty good for the Knicks. They've been around a long time, if you don't know. Now, Bryce, last year you were obviously locked into the Pistons-Knicks series in the first round of the playoffs. In what ways do you think that this Knicks team is improved from last year's version?
I mean, to be quite frank, I think they went through some of the same struggles as what we saw last year. I think Knicks fans would agree to this. I think, hopefully, I don't make any of them mad, but I've had them fans tell me before that the series against the Pistons last year kind of propelled them into the run they ended up making. And I realized they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and then ended up losing, but it was almost like they needed to go through that struggle in a series like that to, I guess, find themselves, or I don't know, whatever cliche you want to use. I feel like Atlanta did that to them, right? I mean, that's what's
Yeah.
kind of fun about the playoffs. You think about some of these teams where they were a week ago, 10 days ago. Detroit was down 3-1. The Knicks were down 2-1, and I remember us leading game theory with what is wrong with Jalen Brunson, essentially. And
Mhm.
we kind of critiqued his defense, but my bigger point was Jalen Brunson has to give up the ball. And I know that sounds crazy, right? Because Jalen Brunson is an all NBA player that's absolutely incredible. But I think you see when Karl Anthony Towns is allowed to let the offense run through him to start games, not only how it benefits the offense, but how it benefits other players on the floor and how it benefits him on the defensive end. To me, not only is he talented enough to do it, but it gets Mikal Bridges a little bit more involved because he's such a good off the ball mover. It makes Brunson's life a little bit easier to start a game, and it gets Karl Anthony Towns into the game. And so now his rebounding's better, his defensive energy is better, and he's good at it, guys. Like he's a really, really good passer. I don't know how many assists he ended up with tonight, but the other night I was looking at it, and through the first 3 games of the playoffs, he was averaging like 4 assists or something like that. He was almost up to 8 going into tonight's game. And so I think they found that in terms of their offense. And then, yeah, in clutch time, let Jalen Brunson go crazy, right? Like, let him do his thing, let him be the closer. But I think that is one thing that they had to go through early in the playoffs. And it seems like they've locked in on it. And then they're getting great energy from their bench players. You mentioned OG's out. They put Deuce McBride into the starting lineup. Landry Shamet comes in and gives them great energy and great production tonight off the bench. And so they're finding those guys to do those things for them, which I think you have to have throughout a playoff run.
Yeah, Towns had 7 assists tonight, so he's
There you
still
go.
doing it.
Yeah.
Game after game.
Yep.
Let's move on to our final series, Spurs Wolves. Wemby finally got it going offensively in game 3 of the Wolves series, scoring 39 points on only 18 shots to go along with 15 boards and 5 blocks, just like video game numbers here. What was the difference offensively for Wemby in game 3 compared to the first 2 games?
Man, he really got it going tonight. So I thought, game 1, Timberwolves come out and kind of surprise everybody. I don't know, me. I don't know if they surprised you guys.
Yeah, definitely surprised me. Yeah.
And I think game 2 was the most obvious result that you could imagine. They San Antonio drops one at home, and okay, they're going to come back in game 2 ready to go. Maybe Minnesota has a little bit of a letdown because you stole one on the road. You're feeling good about yourselves and all of that. So tonight was one of those. I felt like we got each team, like, I don't know, I don't want to say their best, but we got each team kind of what you would expect. Anthony Edwards had a good game tonight, was back in the starting lineup, but Wembanyama was just able to get his offensive game going. And what I liked about it was it started off at the rim. Early in the game, they were getting him lobs at the rim. He was getting play finishes at the rim. And then throughout the game, it seemed like then he pushed things away to his mid-range and to his three-pointer. And then he kind of closed this thing out with a couple sick jump shots. He had a ridiculous mid-range jumper, and then he hits a flare. Like, he's running off a flare screen at the top of the key and is able to catch, set his feet, and knock down the three-pointer. So I thought his balance was very good tonight in terms of, okay, I'm going to start out going to the paint, or anytime Gobert wasn't in the game, he would go to the paint. And just how he strategically attacked Minnesota defensively, depending on who was in the game and who was not. And I think that's always what's exciting about these series as well. And especially for somebody like Wembanyama going through his first playoffs, is how does he learn and grow throughout a series against a Minnesota team that can cause him some issues in terms of Gobert, or you put Jaden McDaniels on him, or the different types of matchups. So I was really impressed with his process, I guess, in terms of where he started attacking and then how he let it progress throughout the game.
Yeah, you brought up the way he got to the rim at the beginning. I don't know if it's like his signature move, but would you call them reverse dunks? I guess they just are reverse dunks.
It's the Mason Plumlee, right? Poor Mason Plumlee is getting it taken away by Victor Wembanyama.
That is true.
They just look different from any reverse dunk you've ever seen. There's just something so uniquely Wemby about them. I just really enjoy them.
Yeah, it looks like somebody on a mini hoop.
Yeah,
I know.
The other thing he's starting to do. Oh, sorry, Alex.
Go ahead.
Is he's starting to do a lot of I call it the Jokic, like, one hand stuff, where Jokic, I think more than any player I watch, will like grab a rebound and outlet with one hand, or grab a rebound. And Wembanyama he literally kind of played volleyball with himself tonight. He like tipped it with his left to his right, and then like almost finished it with his right hand, never putting both hands on the basketball. You can just see him consistently adding efficiency to his offensive game, which is kind of scary. But those are the things that I always like to see, because you always know that he's trying to bring something else. And recently I've noticed the one hand stuff, him trying to do just like putting one hand on the ball off a catch or off a rebound.
I love this Wolves team. I don't want to move on before we at least mention this Wolves team.
Yeah.
Specifically, I wanted to mention that play that Naz Reid had against Steph Castle, where he poked the ball away. Steph got it back, and then Naz blocked him, and then tipped the block to a teammate. I just thought that was just an incredible sequence from Naz Reid.
I thought Naz Reid's been good in this year. I thought he was good again, really good tonight. I mean, I think at one point Finch went to, I think he was doing a little offense defense, and eventually I think he saw that they were just gonna have to score. And so he went to Nas and Julius Randle together. But I mean, he was playing Nas over Julius with Gobert, late in the game for a little bit. But for whatever reason, he seems to, I don't want to say give San Antonio issues. I think that's a little extreme, but he seems to have found a flow offensively.
Yeah.
Not just his scoring, but also his creation. He's a very unique player in terms of his size and skill set. And I feel like we've seen that play out a little bit in this series against the Spurs.
And we're back after that quick break. Let's lead into the lottery. Al, you fire away. First question about the draft lottery, or these are draft questions.
Well, before we get to that, first of all, do folks notice the way Andrew says Lakers, but he's also started applying it to lottery? It's spreading to more L words.
Anything that begins with L is lottery. I have been doing that.
Now we do have some questions prepared for Bryce regarding the draft lottery, which is going to be on Sunday in the middle of the day, Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day, what is happening? You know what I think? I think there's some funny business happening, and the league is trying to sneak it in. They're trying to sneak it in.
I'm right with you. I think they're trying to get all these moms into the NBA draft lottery. They're trying to attract a new group of fans into the NBA. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think they are waiting for the moment. Like, what's the day where people feel most obligated to not watch television about sports? It's like Mother's Day, because they can okay, they're probably going to be at lunch, or they're going to be out on a family walk or something. No one's going to watch it, and we're going to just sneak in some funny business here. This is the frozen envelope. I don't know who it's going to be, but there's going to be some funny business happening on Mother's Day.
I got Tickathon already up on a tab, so yes.
Okay, so we're going to draft. Good. We're going to draft teams that are in the lottery. So there's 14 teams. We're going to draft 12 of them, and it's going to be based on, we're drafting teams that we think the average NBA fan would be most upset if they jumped up and got the number one pick. Now, I think there's a Victor Wembanyama level prospect in this draft. Okay, I think there's an obvious number one. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself the number one pick because it's so easy. And that is, of course, Oklahoma City. I mean, coming off that Lakers game where, I mean, the people were fired up on social media. The Lakers were fired up on the court. Imagine following that up with OKC jumping up and getting the number one pick.
It would be so funny. It would be so funny.
Folks, yeah, it'd be terrible for you if you're not an OKC fan, but you got to admit it'd be a little funny.
It'd be a little funny.
What
are we going to be mad at somebody for planning? Like, oh man, I hate this team for doing proper planning.
Yes.
I think it would just be chaos for the roster is kind of what I would have fun with. Like, okay.
Oh, you would flip it on us. You say this is actually bad for the Thunder.
No. You think this is going to be good. However.
Oh, yeah. You think getting AJ DePonce is a good thing? Well, let me flip this No, I just think it'd be like, okay, well, how is this going to play out if you add one of these guys? No, I do not think it will be a bad thing.
It could screw up everything.
Yeah.
It could screw up everything.
Too much talent.
There is I would say this. It would be crazy if they won it. But there is like this element of when you're drafted in the top 4, there's like certain expectations for like minutes and touches and like who these guys are. There's like all these guys have like pretty big camps behind them and people that have certain expectations for like what their numbers could be and all this stuff. You're bringing them into a team that is fully established. Like they have a rotation, they have a process, they have a way that they work, and a player like that entering into that team, while obviously it wouldn't that'd be amazing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but it would be really interesting. It would take a particular personality, I think, for it to actually work, because I do think a lot of guys that are the number one pick, they want a chance to be rookie of the year. They probably wouldn't get that opportunity in Oklahoma City. And so I just think that it would be fascinating to see, one, who they chose, and then two, like how that player handled playing with this particular team. I just think it would be pretty fascinating to see, because we've seen it not go so well, even in Detroit. Not that like Darko was going to be like some great player if he's drafted by some other team. But like Darko was drafted like at the top of the draft to a very good team, and they won the championship that year, but Darko was pretty much a non-factor for them and really never developed. And who knows, like maybe he never develops into the player people thought he would be, but it was pretty difficult for him. And he's like even, been pretty honest about his like mental struggles. And so I just like wonder, and I know the Thunder almost above any team would like take this selection seriously on who the player is as a person. But I think that to me would be like super fascinating, because it's not like you just get to just add somebody like on top of what they have. Like you have to make room for somebody like that, and like how they did that would be pretty fascinating.
Well, they're already in that situation, right? Like just with roster spots in general, which is kind of crazy.
Sure.
The other thing is, and I mean, listen, they'll figure it out, because to your point about planning, if I always talk about, if you go to the Spotrac and look at the cap sheet, they always have a bunch of red compared to other teams, which represents club options.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did jump in the lottery, that would add $7 or $8 million to the salary cap next year, which we know the Oklahoma City is at least entering the realm of, hey, we have to start thinking about this stuff, because all three of those guys are, getting into their rookie extensions. Again, I'm not literally trying to make the pitch that this would be a bad thing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but it would make for actual interesting conversations in terms of including who would the pick be. I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little bit, but I think them, as much as anybody, could have like, who's the best fit of those top four? Who do we think would fit in the best with the team? Maybe as much as any other team can have that discussion. So,
okay, that's enough on OKC. This is a draft about people eventually getting mad, not trying to make them actively mad during this podcast by talking about OKC too much. Okay, so Bryce, you get to go second. Who would fans be second most mad about?
I think Dallas, right? Like Dallas, after jumping all the way up last year and getting the number one pick.
Back to back.
I think getting back to back in quality drafts, like good drafts.
Yeah.
I think everybody was okay with it. I think they got less last year because people felt bad for them after the Luka trade. And I think, but now seeing how good Cooper is going to be, then also adding in one of these guys, maybe if they jump into like the top four, I don't think people will be upset. But if it's all the way to number one again, I think people would be upset.
And you got the good vibes of Masai coming in. You got Mike Schmitz there now.
Mike Schmitz, yeah.
Are they overpowered? If they got the number one pick, it's too much. I agree. People would get pretty angry if Dallas got back to back, especially right before they do the lottery reform, where that will not be possible ever again, at least for the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Andrew, you have back to back picks.
Ooh,
okay,
the turn.
I know one of the teams. I feel like there's two obvious ones, Andrew.
There's two obvious ones.
Yeah,
I hope you don't take one of the two, because I only have two more answers I feel great about.
I think I'd be pretty annoyed if the Warriors won the lottery.
Yes.
That's one of them.
That is one of them.
Yeah. I mean, like they've been extremely fortunate for so long.
Even though they've been so bad it's been 4 years since they won the title, and they've been a play-in team, if not all those seasons, the majority of those seasons. But I still feel like there's still a hangover from the KD Warriors where people would still be pissed if the Warriors jumped up.
Absolutely. And also, like, they've had their chance at like the number 2 pick, and
That's
that
true.
8th
That's true.
pick. And you know what? You blew it. You blew your chance at 2 timelines. You don't get to.
Wow.
You don't get to do this again. Sorry,
Sorry.
sorry, Warriors. And then
who's your
I
fourth
think
pick?
the other one I would be annoyed with is the Miami Heat.
There you
Yep.
go. Those are my 2 picks.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. That, you know what? You're going to get somebody, Miami. Like, let's not
You say
it.
that, but I feel like we've been saying that for like half a decade now.
You know what? We all still believe that it's possible. Okay.
Oh, we do.
It's South Beach. All you have to do is hop on a boat with somebody from the organization and they'll show you the world. It's like,
It
all
does
right.
sound nice.
It's gotta be so nice. So
Okay.
yeah.
I definitely agree. Those top 4, those are like, I feel like there's a tier break. Definitely a tier break right now. Yeah.
Tier
Okay.
break.
So Bryce, you have pick 5.
So I'm gonna go Chicago. Just and my pitch here is you just decided to do it the right way and rebuild. You don't get rewarded in year 1. You have to tank for a year. And I know I know that's blasphemy. I understand it. And this isn't ever gonna happen again. I get it. I know tanking is solved, but they don't get to choose one time, hire a new GM, and then that GM gets to get the number 1 pick. So
You want them to suffer more.
Yeah, they need 1 year after the 15 years of mediocrity and the awful. They're going to trade players at the deadline because it would be the right decision, but then they don't and make me look like an idiot because they just stayed pat. So yes.
I love the
Chicago.
idea that the Bulls fans listening to this and the podcaster from the rival team in their division is like, yeah, you guys haven't suffered enough. maybe one more year. Maybe one more year, and then we can talk.
You need to acquire a few more players from the Kings first, okay?
You know what's funny is like I don't have enough fandom to even think about that angle, but I'm sure there's people that are assuming that that's where that answer came from. Was like, the Pistons guy.
You think they might think that because there's literally a Detroit Pistons logo hanging behind you?
I mean, okay, so here's the thing, Alex. I get paid to talk about the Pistons. Like I have to like play into it to some extent. So, but it's not like I grew up wearing, whatever. I didn't grow. I'm from Kansas. So I swear that the Central Division rivalry did not come into play.
Were you a Jayhawk fan?
I also just don't think there's a lot of great.
Was that your basketball
was
team?
that my real fandom lies in Kansas Jayhawk basketball and Kansas City Chief football, and there truly isn't any. And the Kansas Jayhawk basketball is kind of gone since I.
Yeah.
This is going to sound very arrogant, but since I played Division I basketball, like you kind of lose that a little bit.
Oh, I felt the same way.
So the only.
Yeah, I can't get into church league like I used to.
The only true fandom I have is Kansas City Chief football. Like that's the only team that can invoke an emotional response from a game from me.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
No, you wouldn't.
I thought about texting you after the Eagles beat them in the. I thought about asking Andrew for your phone number to text you after the Super Bowl. But I didn't.
That could have been bad for our friendship.
Okay, next pick. I'm going Indy. Like everyone loves Indy.
Okay.
Everyone loved Indy last year. Everyone.
Yeah.
But now I think those same people are looking at Indy like, oh man, this is a sleeping giant. They're definitely waking up next year. They're going to destroy my favorite team, and they're going to get a number 1 pick. Like this is more fear-based hate. Like we can't let this happen. Because if Indy gets the number 1 pick, I mean they really could build something very scary for all those teams in the East that have been, looking at these Eastern Conference like, oh, it's pretty wide open right now. Oh, we could make the finals. It might look totally different next year if Indy comes back healthy with a number 1 pick. So I have them as my second pick.
That's a good call.
I think that's a good one too because their pick could go away very easily. And
I know.
I think that
it's a coin flip.
That it's it's kind of scary because if they ended up getting like one of these top picks, that's huge for them. But if they lose it, like it's you still get the 2031 pick. That's great, but it would be huge for them. Like if Cam Boozer was just suddenly on that team, or if they had Darren Peterson suddenly on that team, or Caleb Wilson, like it would just be like they could be set for a while if they got one of those guys. And it's funny because even if they got like pick 5 or pick 6, if they didn't have those protections there, I think one of those players will help them a lot too. But the fact that it just goes away is like really fascinating. And so there's like these like alternate realities with the Pacers that, I do think that it's fair to pick them.
Yeah, I think it's the number one story on Sunday, what happens with that pick. I think that's the most exciting thing. Second most exciting thing is which of these bad teams is going to get screwed. So I'm going to go with my next pick. Now we're dipping in. Now it's getting juicy. I'm taking the Utah Jazz. Through I believe like no real fault of their own. All these teams were tanking, but I feel like they became the face of tanking this year. And I wouldn't be mad. I would be happy. I would be overjoyed for the Jazz. Good for them. But I feel like a lot of NBA fans who are anti-tanking would see this as like the final thing just to get under their skin about tanking. The fact that in the last year of tanking, the worst tanker, even though they weren't the worst tanker, they weren't the worst team, but they got the number one pick. I feel like that would really rile some folks up. Not as much as the first. That was your next. Oh, do you feel like there's a tier break? Are we head to another tier break?
Yeah, no, another tier break.
Okay.
Utah and Sacramento were going to be my next ones.
Oh, you're taking Sacramento. This is your pick. You can have Sacramento. Sacramento's on the board.
You did? Oh, no, sorry. I didn't mean that. I meant Indiana and Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kings fans are like, what do we do?
That's my thing is like, I think Washington, Brooklyn, Sacramento, like none of.
Now you're kind of having to make up stuff.
Yeah.
Can you find some hate in your heart, Bryce?
No, so let's lean into that. Okay, I will lean into my Detroit Pistons, air quotes, fandom, the Charlotte Hornets, because if the Charlotte Hornets got the number one pick, you talk about like a sleeping giant in the Indiana Pacers. Imagine adding one of those guys to what Charlotte already had this year, and that team becomes even more fun. So,
real quick, sidebar: who would you draft number one?
I'm glad you're asking. I was going to ask.
I have AJ Devonta.
Okay,
so I want to be very clear that I don't have him like in this overwhelming tier above the other three. Essentially, I would take AJ Devonta number one if I was all 30 NBA teams.
Okay.
So I don't think he's like unbelievably above those guys, but he's enough for me that I don't think that there's a team. I haven't workshopped all 30, I guess, but I don't think that there's a team I would not take him number one for. So
okay.
And then I don't have any surprises in terms of my top four or whatever. I have the same top four as most people. So.
Well, that was an interesting pick because I actually thought Charlotte might last all the way. I do agree with your sleeping giant argument. I just don't know if NBA fans, they would clue into it immediately. It would be like the midpoint of next season. They would be like, damn it. Can't believe the Hornets got the number one pick. This is bad.
In God's honest truth, like I love watching that team. Like they were one of my favorite teams to watch this year. So like there's not any hate. I know them in Detroit had their thing or whatever. And at one point it was a little annoying hearing everybody pick Charlotte to upset Detroit in the first round of the playoffs and all of that. But I did really enjoy it. And I thought LaMelo had an incredible season. I truly did.
Andrew, who's your next pick? Pick 9.
Oh, he has to pick twice. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, you do.
I think I will take the Kings.
Yeah.
Why?
Here. Just let me explain. Why?
Because why are you mad at the Kings?
I'm not mad at Kings fans at all. I just think that people would be like, God, they're going to screw this up somehow. Like one of these guys that in the top 4 that we think is going to be incredible will not be incredible in the NBA.
That is true.
They're going to pluck that guy out and they're
And
going
ruin
to
him.
just ruin him, waste his career. It's going to end up being just a mess. Somehow it's going to be a mess. Okay? Like, this is just how the Kings do things. They're not going to do their due diligence. It's going to be a disaster. That's just like, why do we allow this to happen? You know,
And
like
honestly, hearing that as a fan is way worse than like, oh, the league rigged it for you. Just hearing like, you're going to ruin this player over and over again.
yeah.
That's way worse.
Yeah.
And that's honestly mean. Okay?
It is.
It
is
can
a
work
little
out.
I would like for it to work out. I think they have a great arena. They got the Beam. They got Deuce and Mo. Okay,
They got great
there's
fans.
a lot to like.
Hey, have you ever seen those
fans?
I wish I knew their name. The Kings Pod on Instagram.
They got the Kings Pod. The guys that make up the songs.
Yeah, those guys are great.
They're so
really
funny. Like they have it all except for a good team. Okay.
Yes, they have everything you could
They have
want.
everything a fan base could want except for a good basketball team. Okay.
Okay, Andrew, who are you taking next? Final round. There'll be 2 teams left over, and those will be the 2 most lovable teams.
Okay. I'll take Washington just because they had a disgusting year. And you know, it's another one of those, like, similar, I guess, to Utah, where it's like, yeah, these guys tanked so badly all season. They don't deserve it. Also, like, somehow Trae Young and Anthony Davis are on this team. Like, what?
Yeah.
What is that? Like, what's happening there? No, thank you.
Think a sneaky part of the NBA offseason is what happens with those guys' contracts this offseason. Like, I am fascinated to see what ends up happening with those guys' contracts. But anyway.
Oh, I know. Well, we were talking to Sean Highkin about the Blazers potentially going, like, you know, looking for a big name. And we're all immediately thinking of Giannis. But then you start thinking of it more and you're like, oh, was that about Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
Is that like what is actually going to happen?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. So,
okay.
I wouldn't be mad, but I could see myself being a little annoyed.
Bryce, who is your final pick?
I'm going to go Atlanta, but I don't think people are going to be mad at Atlanta. They're actually going to be mad at Atlanta via the New Orleans Pelicans for making that trade and allowing Atlanta to get this pick. And so Atlanta is going to take like the disdain from everything surrounding what happened with that trade and the process and all of that. And again, an Atlanta team that I kind of like, and you add a number 1 pick. And here's the other thing with Atlanta, they just had a number 1 pick. Now, different draft and different level of prospects, and but they had their chance with the number 1 pick, and so I could see people not loving it if they end up winning the lottery. Also, the secondary aspect of this, in the world where Milwaukee actually ends up with the number 2 pick, I think people would hate that. Like, they would be so. I don't think people realize that Milwaukee has their own pick here, or like has a pick still in this draft sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
And could be as high as number 2. Like, I think the odds on that, I'm sure, are not very high, but it's at least possible.
Yeah, I would have probably
true.
picked them higher if they had the ability to get the number 1 pick. I would have picked them earlier.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. I kind of forgot about that aspect. They're kind of excluded from the list. You can't really pick them.
Correct. Yeah.
So
They're going to have Milwaukee will have a lottery pick, but there's 0% chance it'll be the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess my final decision then is between Memphis and Brooklyn. And I'm going to go Memphis, leaving Brooklyn as the most lovable team. My thinking here is that if Brooklyn had had a better draft last year, maybe we'd feel differently. But I feel like the way their draft went, we're like, you know, there's some players. I mean, I really like Danny Wolf, but there's not like a clear future all-star on that team that you could
maybe if they had
out.
6 first-round picks, Al. Maybe if they had 6 first-round picks,
if they'd had one more,
maybe somebody would be talking about.
But I don't think people would be that mad if Brooklyn got the number 1 overall pick. And this is also an East versus West thing, like a number 1 pick going to a Western Conference team. versus an Eastern Conference team, I think Brooklyn would result in the least amount of negative energy out there. So
Yeah,
congratulations to the Nets. Do you think this will predict anything? Wouldn't that be cool if they won and we could go back to this? You could do a
that
little
would be
clip,
cool.
Andrew. A
Yeah, that would
15-minute
be
clip.
cool.
All right, let's jump
we'd make
into
a 15-minute clip. That's what they call them.
let's jump into our
short.
lottery questions. So Ramona Shelburne wrote an article for ESPN this week about Darren Peterson, detailing his health issues
Peterson.
during his freshman season at Kansas, which are now thought to be a result of high-dose creatine. At the end of that article, first of all, when I heard that, did you feel this way, Bryce? Like a sense of relief? Like that explanation actually made a ton of sense to me when I read it.
So yes, my initial reaction was, why did his people not just tell us this? Because I'll be honest, guys, and like I just saw like the quotes on Twitter, like people posting it. Like I almost felt for him. Like I
Yeah.
envisioned myself in what he explained and where I had been at the brink of exertion whenever I played and how scary that can be. And then understanding why, as soon as he felt like he was starting to get a cramp in a game, he asked to come out of the game. Like,
Right.
I will give him the benefit of the doubt that this is all true. And if so, then I fully understand why he was freaked out a little bit and
Yeah.
why things went down the way they did. So my biggest question was, why didn't you just tell us? Like, I think people would have understood, as
Yeah.
opposed to all of the stuff that ended up going on with it.
So at the end of that article, though, Peterson talks about how he believes point guard is his best position and how playing off ball so much at Kansas was more about trying to find ways to help him be effective without exerting too much. What are your current thoughts about his abilities as a lead ball handler and playmaker, since that wasn't a big part of his game at Kansas? Are you still confident based on the high school tape?
I think less than like even maybe Sam is, because I understand what he's saying. There is still just a level of we didn't see it. We did not see him play that role at all at Kansas. And so that does give me a little bit of pause, even though I watched the high school film and saw him operate ball screens and manipulate defense, play under control, play with good pace, play with a great demeanor, like all of those things. We've seen high school kids be really good and then go to college and not be able to play in the same role or do the same things, right? And I'm not saying he couldn't have, we just didn't see it. And so while I believe he's probably a better passer and creator than what we saw at Kansas, I wouldn't be fully comfortable drafting him solely as a point guard if I was an NBA team. I think I've always said his comp is more of a Devin Booker, Jamal Murray type of player anyway, which I think can be a very valuable player. But they're not the Cades that are going and getting you 8, 9, 10 assists a game or something like. And again, that's okay. And his jumper is incredible, so I think it's going to be fine. But it was an interesting quote for him, and I wonder, maybe I end up being wrong here, but I think for my evaluation, I'm still kind of comfortable with where I'm at as kind of that more scoring archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think the Pacers would be such like a great landing spot for him.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they
Playoff
have a lot.
Tyrese.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So everyone is focused on the top 4, but one of the really interesting things about this draft is the number of point guards available in the lottery. You have Kingston Flemings, Keaton Wagler, Darius Acuff, Michael Brown, LeBaron Philon for teams interested in a point guard. How would you personally rank those 5? And do you have any favorite team fits for any of these guys?
So right now I would have Acuff, Flemings, Wagler, Brown, and then Philon. In that order. A little bit of tier breaks there as well. Acuff is so talented offensively. I'm a little concerned about the defense and the size, but just an incredible. I think the thing with Acuff was he showed he could really pass. I don't need to go through all of these guys, but I will say one thing that I think Acuff, Wagler, Brown, Phylon in particular all have. I don't know as I believe in it as much with Flemings, is those guys can play off the ball a little bit. And so while you're drafting them to be primary creators, I think that they do, and each of them in a little bit of a different way, do have a skill sets or potential to also play off of other creators. And, if you have a big guy that you want to run your offense through or whatever. So I think that that helps kind of insulate them a little bit in terms of, what their floor is or whatever. In terms of great fits,
Like, what about the Mavs? Because that's the one I'm interested in, because they're kind of in that
mm,
zone. If they don't jump up, they could potentially take a point guard, even though Kyrie's coming back for the future. Do you like any of those 5 guys in particular for the Mavs?
yeah, like I think Acuff would be fun there. And again, I think to my point is he could kind of operate with the ball in his hands for them. But then also, whenever you want to put the ball in Cooper Flagg's hands, he showed an ability to knock down shots off the ball and play off the ball where he's going to fit in fine in regards to that. And then theoretically, you insulate him defensively with a Cooper Flag and then the bigs, assuming they're still going to be there and all of that. So I think this draft is so fascinating after the top 4 because I personally find it hard to believe we're going to see 5 or 6 straight guards or point guards go off the board. And so my question is more so, who is the wing forward big that jumps up into that top 10, right? Is it
Yeah.
Yaxel Lindeberg? Is it, I see a lot of Adai Mara recently.
Mhm.
Is it Nate Ament just because, of how young he is and the tools or whatever? Like, I just don't know that. I just don't know that those guards are going to go off the board in that order, one after another, after the top 4. I
Right.
may be wrong, but I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
So
And
you
is
you br
there a chance that like Acuff jumps into the top 4, like
I don't.
depending on how the draft
I,
order goes?
I don't think so. I guess we'll see after Sunday how it shakes out, if I can find a path to that. For me, no. I know we joke about tiers, but I do think it's important on draft boards. Like I have a pretty clear tier break between Caleb Wilson and then any of those guards. Acuff is the number 5 player on my board.
Mhm.
But like there's essentially what a tier break means for me, especially at the top of the draft is, again, no matter who ends up at number 4, I'm taking whichever one of those 4 is left, no matter what my roster says. Like, I'm taking one of those guys. Like, I
Mm.
feel strongly enough about Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson over even, Acuff at 5 or Wagler or Flemings, that I'm no matter what, I'm taking one of those guys. That's how I feel right now.
You mentioned, Nate Ament, and, he seems to be
Yep.
one of the more polarizing players among prospects that are expected to go in the lottery, and the
Yeah.
concerns with him seem to be driven in part by a very frequent comp to Zachary Risacher.
It's so
How
mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
how
mean.
how would you compare and contrast them as prospects?
No, I mean, it's not an unfair comp. I mean, you get it a lot. And so I think the thing with Ament is he has really good secondary skills for someone his size. So he does a nice job, like with his he's skilled. Like he can dribble, he can pass, he can do all those things, but really his primary skill needs to be knocking down shots, right? Like just be a big time shot maker. Almost a little bit more in the Jabari Smith Jr. role. The problem was he was under 40% and 33% from the 3-point line this last season. But I do think he knows how to cut and he understands those things. How's he going to finish at the rim? And here's another thing with a lot of these guys is, how are they going to fill out their frames? I mean, that's a part of these guards as well. Like Keaton Wagler, I think is going to be really good, but he's going to struggle if he doesn't fill out, until he fills out his frame. Ament's the same way. He's going to have to be able to do that.
Mhm.
Um, and I think he's a guy defensively that I think he's going to be able to disrupt or have the potential to be a disruptor. But, is he able to hold up at the cutoff point and hold his ground whenever he gets to those spots against big physical NBA players? So I'm very intrigued by him. I do think the Ricochet things are probably fair because there are a lot of the same concerns with what we've now seen from him in the NBA.
So let's think ahead to the combine. Are there any players that you are particularly interested in finding out what their measurements are?
Okay, so I usually reserve this for the bigs. I think some guard. Okay, so like a cheat code one here is Tyler Tanner. I don't know how familiar you guys are with him, the point guard out of Vanderbilt that's quite small but
Mm-hmm.
very, very, very good. I think most people assume he'll go back to college because NIL pays a lot of money,
Yeah.
and as maybe the best point guard in college basketball next year, he's going to make a boatload. I
Mm-hmm.
think a big guy would be Merez Johnson Jr.
Mm.
From Michigan. I think Isaiah Stewart, for people m that mold, that type of big, and the argument I've made is, like, Isaiah Stewart's barely making it work at his size with his wingspan and all of that, and
Yeah.
so if Merez comes in way smaller than that, I think that that could be an issue for him, being a undersized 5, so what the standing reach ends up being and those type of things. I will tell you one player I'm really interested is Cameron Carr. Cameron Carr is a insane athlete. And so I'm really interested to see kind of what combine numbers he puts up, what his wingspan is, what his vertical jump is, some of those things. I think he's a guy that has a chance to rise throughout the process. As a guy, an underclassman that I assume will end up staying in the class.
How worried do you get about, uh, lighter weight guards? Like, I know, like, LeBaron Philon last year at the combine was, like,
Yes.
175 pounds or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah.
seems like he's put on a little bit of weight, but, how important is that to you?
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. It's one reason why, while Acuff wasn't a good defender in college, just his frame gives me hope that he'll be able to hold up better than maybe what people would think. And
Mhm.
so again, I think Wagler falls into that. I think Mikel Brown falls into that. Philon, guys, LeBaron Philon might be my favorite player in the class. Like I love watching that kid play basketball. Like he just has a certain cadence with the way he plays and the way he moves and the fluidity. And he came back and he shot the ball better this year. But the more I watch the NBA and the more I watch NBA playoffs, there's a physicality that you have to be able to match, especially on the defensive end, or offensive players are going to play right through your chest, and that's
Mhm.
going to be an issue. I'll give you another example. I think Adai Mara is really good, and I know people have gotten very excited about him. I can show you a lot of clips where college players are playing through his chest in the paint. And I'm a little bit nervous about his practical play strength. Think about Chet Holmgren, right? Chet doesn't look like he should hold up practically,
Yeah.
but he does. He takes so much contact with his chest and he's able to hold his ground for whatever reason. I don't understand the biomechanics of Chet Holmgren. I truly don't. But uh, like it doesn't make sense. He shouldn't hold up the way he does, truly.
Yeah.
But Adai Mara is a little bit of the opposite. Like he's a big, tall dude, but he's not super skinny. But there are times where he does. So those are the things that I know that took your question a little bit further than what you asked, Alex. But that weight I think does play into that. And there's some wings as well. Like I can give you Cameron Carr's another one of those guys that's a little skinnier. Isaiah Evans out of Duke is another one of those guys. So there are definitely some guys where these numbers are going to be quite interesting.
Okay, final question. We always have some risers during the period between the lottery and the draft. Do you have any favorites? I think you actually mentioned Carr for this, but do you have any other favorites that you might think make a big impression at the combine or workouts and could boost their draft stock?
So I'll just go players I'm kind of higher on that, maybe will go ahead and rise. Um, so Cameron Carr is one of them. Terrace Reed Jr. out of Connecticut is a player I'm higher on than others. He's coming off a big NCAA tournament run. I think a name that will be interesting to track is Abuka Okori at Stanford. He was a freshman, for all of the great freshmen in college basketball. He was as good as any of them, and he played at Stanford last year. And so those are a few names. Alan Graves is a very popular name for people. He was a freshman that actually came off the bench for Santa Clara, funny enough. But I think what I also want to highlight is a lot of these guys are going to go back. And so I think people need to prepare themselves for that. While we already saw one of the lowest early entry numbers that we've seen,
Yeah.
there's also still a lot of money for these guys to go back to college. And if they aren't getting first round guarantees by the 24th, I believe it is. I have that for sure. Which 27th, excuse me, 27th. These guys are going to go back. So I think that's honestly the biggest thing I'm interested to track is how many of them end up going back to school and how many actually stay in the class.
All right, Bryce, you've made it.
All right, Bryce.
Wait, I thought we were going to talk 2027 draft instead of trivia. Is that what we? I've been grinding 2027 draft film. You guys don't want to talk about Tyron Stokes or Caleb Holt or anything like that? No.
Well, lucky for you, all my trivia questions are about the 2027 class. No, they're not.
Oh, I'd be so bad.
Yeah,
I would have no
be really
chance.
rough.
I have no chance.
I think Bryce would win. What if Bryce paid me off to do that? Just to get a win. Okay, you've played this before. Playoffs edition, 8 questions, all about the playoffs. Bryce, give me number 1 through 8.
I did so good at this the other day. I was on my walk and I was listening. I knew the Donovan Clingan answer. Like I was so proud of myself.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, which means I'll score 0 points today. Number 3, Allen Iverson.
Question number 3. That is true. We had 3 Game 7s this past week. There are 3 NBA franchises that have never won a Game 7. How many can you name? You could get 3 points here. 1 point per correct answer. Only 3 NBA franchises that have never won a Game 7. A few different ways to think about this.
Wow.
What I like about this question is I'm not even going to feel bad whenever I get it wrong, and unless you say something that makes me, because I'm just like I don't think that I should know this. I guess is my point. Like I only get mad whenever. So, are you going to tell me I should know this? Like, don't make this worse for me.
No, you shouldn't know it. But I'm just saying you could make an educated guess. You know,
No. I'm going to try to.
Okay, I hope you will.
Now I'm overthinking it though. Okay, the Washington Wizards were the first name that came to mind. So I'll just go with that.
Wrong, Andrew.
Okay, great.
That have never won a Game 7.
Yeah,
never won.
One.
I believe, if I remember correct from Wikipedia, every franchise has played in a Game 7.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Okay.
At least one.
At least one. How about the Clippers?
Nope. Okay, the one I thought you maybe should get would be Charlotte Hornets. You know, just because not a ton of playoff appearances.
Yeah.
Similarly, New Orleans Pelicans.
That was gonna.
They did get to that one. Remember that one against the Spurs? And then Memphis.
Oh, Memphis has never won a Game 7. Wow.
Yeah, that was the more interesting one.
Yeah, I would not have guessed them. I actually did consider New Orleans. So.
Okay, no points though. Andrew, board is yours.
Number 1.
Question number 1. Listen to this question. Victor Wembanyama had 12 blocks in Game 1 against Minnesota this past week, an NBA playoffs record. Now, in the first round, he also had a 7-block game. There are 9 active players other than Wemby who have had at least 7 blocks in a playoff game, and we're going to name them all. So these are active players, have had a 7+ block game in the playoffs? Andrew, where would you like
Wow.
to start?
Rudy Gobert.
Good guess. He has done it. Rudy Gobert. Bryce.
Previously mentioned Anthony Davis.
AD has done it. Andrew.
Oh my gosh. Triple J.
Jaren Jackson Jr. has done it.
Yes.
Bryce.
Draymond.
Draymond Green has done it.
Wow.
So it's the names you would think, right? It's not that hard.
Joel.
Joel Embiid has not done it, Andrew.
Oh, man.
Wow. Bryce, did you have any other names you were thinking of?
The only other name I could think of was Brooke Lopez.
He's also on the list. There should be another name, though, that you can think of. Because
That sounded very That sounded very targeted.
It is. It is extremely targeted.
Isaiah Stewart. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he had one with
beef
8
stew.
in this year's playoffs. But you still get the point.
You are I love. You know what I love listening to you guys is when Andrew says answers that make you really mad because he's not saying the obvious answers that he should be saying.
Yeah.
You were totally just doing that to me, weren't you? Like, Bryce, why are you not saying the low-hanging fruit of Isaiah Stewart?
You guys did great, though. Brooke Lopez, that was on the list. The other names, Time Lord, Robert Williams.
Oh, dang it.
Luke Cornett. And Zach Edey, which that had to have happened last year in the OKC series, and I don't remember it, but that's impressive.
I do not recall that at all.
I do not recall.
Nice.
Okay, Bryce, you're on the board. You're up 1-0, and the board is yours.
2.
Question number 2. In Game 2 of the Spurs-Wolves series, San Antonio won by 38 points. That is the worst playoff loss in Wolves playoff history. Now, the previous record was a 30-point loss to the Lakers in 2003. Name 2 Wolves that played in that game other than KG and Wally Zerbiak. So you get 1 point per correct answer. You just have to name 2 players who played for the Wolves in the 2003 playoff game against the Lakers other than KG and Wally.
Wow.
2003.
2003. You were a freshman in high school, I think.
Sophomore.
Okay, I was close.
So the only name that's coming up right now is because of the Kawhi thing, actually, is Joe Smith.
Joe Smith, that is correct for 1 point.
Nice.
He did play in that game. Can you think of another wolf? Wolf. Can you think of another wolf?
Wolf. That's a tough one. No, that was the only one I could. No, I'll let Andrew take a shot.
Andrew, you got a name locked and loaded?
Yeah, this is around the time where me and our buddy L-Man's younger brother, me and Chad Stevens would play NBA live against each other and get so mad at each other playing. He's L-Man's little brother.
And you played as the Wolves?
And he would always be the Wolves. He would always be the Wolves. Rasho Nesterovic was on that team.
Yes. How many can you name, Andrew?
I think Troy Hudson was also on that team.
Yeah. I love Troy Hudson.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was good.
I think Rod Strickland was also on that team.
Yeah, Rod Strickland was. There's a name near and dear to your heart, Andrew. Like current world, current life.
Oh, really?
Someone that you see in person a lot. Yeah.
Someone that I see in person a lot.
Other names: Anthony Peeler, Kendall
Yeah.
Gill, Mark
Uh-huh.
Jackson, Gary Trent,
Uh-huh.
Lauren Woods, and current
And
Thunder assistant coach Mike Wilkes.
oh, Mike Wilkes was on that team.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was gonna say Terrell Brandon, but I don't think he must have not been. He must have been right before or something like that.
Yeah, or didn't play in the game. That's possible. Although a lot of guys played in this game because they lost by 30.
Because
Okay.
they lost by so much.
Andrew, board is yours.
I will take number 4.
Question number 4. With their game 7 loss, Orlando has now blown 2 3-1 leads in their franchise's history. There are 3 other franchises that have blown 2 3-1 leads in the playoffs. How many can you name? 1 point per correct answer.
That have blown 2 3-1 leads.
Yes. So, of course, Orlando did it with Doc Rivers back in the day, and then they just did
Yeah.
it with Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, gosh.
Has Philly done it? It feels like something Philly would have done.
Wow. Okay, they have, but it was like a long time ago.
Okay.
But that is correct.
Okay. I'll take the point.
Can you name either of the other two?
Let's see. Other 3-1.
So you just picked Philly just
Jeez.
purely based on vibes.
100%. No knowledge whatsoever. Purely based on the tragedy that has occurred for that fan base. Yes. Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
That's sad.
How about Golden State?
Golden State has not. Yeah, the 2 years that Philly
Okay.
did it was 1981 and 1968.
I was thinking of that 68 Philly team.
Both to the Celtics. Okay, Bryce, you got any guesses?
The only franchise I can think of to go with this is the Clippers.
Well, I was really worried that I'd given it away by even mentioning Doc Rivers' name because, yes, it is the Clippers.
Okay, I thought about the Clippers too. Dang it.
Yeah. Do you want to throw out another franchise just in case you could get it?
No, like that was
Well,
was
you
literally
just
the
throw out
only-
one. Maybe you'll get it. You just throw out any team. What if you got it?
I mean, so I assume Andrew's Warriors guess was that was a pretty infamous 3-1. So the Thunder, because I know that they did it once.
Oh, that's true. They did once. Thanks for bringing it up. No, it's
Sorry.
the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns.
Oh,
Okay.
Who did it in 1970 and 1995. Okay. Bryce, board is yours.
is 5 still there? I can't see 5.
Yeah, 5
Yep,
is still there.
yep.
Who has the most steals in this year's playoffs so far? Hopefully someone didn't have like a 10 steal game tonight. I don't think anyone did, but because I did this morning. Most steals in this year's playoffs so far.
I was just looking all this stuff up the other day.
Just for fun? Were you doing your own trivia?
No, like I was wasting time. It's like, hey, I'll put out some cool stats on Twitter for people. Like I just to see like it's kind of fun just to see who leads different, statistical categories or whatever. So the blocks per game one was fun because it was Stewart and like Luke Cornett each playing less than 18 minutes a game, were like second and fifth or something. I don't think this is right, and I don't think you would have asked this question.
Okay.
Asar? I don't think
no,
that's right,
although I
though.
do think he might have been second. I'll
Yeah.
check while Andrew's guessing.
His stats is like the rebound, steals, and blocks, not total steals. Yeah. Gosh dang it.
Andrew, you got any guesses? Okay, it's Andrew. It's the question is who has the most steals in this year's playoffs so far?
Oh, okay. Oh gosh. The most steals.
And Asar is number 2.
Is it Marcus Smart?
Whoo! It is Marcus Smart, and that ties the game up 3-3. Wow. And
He's also
Andrew,
played in a lot of games. Marcus Smart.
That's true. So is
He's a
Asar.
maniac. He's been a maniac. He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Andrew, board is yours.
6.
There are 16 active players who have scored at least 2,000 career points in the playoffs. Only 3 of those 16 are still playing in this year's playoffs. Now, one is obviously LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the other 2? So these are active players still in the playoffs who have at least 2,000 career points in the playoffs.
James Harden?
Yes. 1 point.
Playoff P?
It is playoff P. Andrew gets
Yes.
both points.
Nice.
Going to Bryce. 2 questions remain.
7. Sorry, 7.
There are 29 players who have taken at least 1 3 in this year's playoffs, but haven't made 1. Name 2 of those players. So there's 29 of these guys. They've taken at least 1 3 in the playoffs, but they haven't
Asar
made
Thompson.
any. That is correct. So close to not being correct, though. Because he did make that one.
He's only taken 1, right?
Well, but also he made that one that they called off.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Can you get another one to tie up the game going into the final question?
That one was a little easy. The next one is not. You know what? I'm just going to homer this one and say Paul Reed.
Oh, that is correct. He's on the list. That means we have a tie game.
He came in one of those games and immediately took a corner 3. And so I know he took at least 1.
Yeah, the only other one that I thought you all might have remembered was Rudy Gobert, just because he took that 3 in the Denver series.
Oh, yeah.
That felt like a heat check, even though he hadn't taken a 3 before. But it was just like, what is Rudy doing? I'm not going to name everyone. There's a lot of guys. Okay, so that brings us to the final question. It's currently tied 5-5. So whoever gets this final question wins the week. The Knicks are the first team in NBA history to win 3 consecutive playoff games by 25-plus points. So this goes back to the Hawks series. 3 in a row, 25-plus points. What was Jalen Brunson's total plus-minus in those 3 games? Okay, total plus-minus of those 3 games combined. Andrew, you get to choose who answers first. So you can make Bryce answer first.
My gosh.
And then you go higher or lower, or you can answer first, and then Bryce will go higher or lower. And this will decide the week.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. That's crazy. That's a crazy question. That's okay. So I got to get my bearings about me. Okay. Plus.
Good start.
73.
All right, Bryce. Andrew has set the bar at plus 73.
This is the... What games is this again?
So this would have been game 6 of the Hawks series, and then the first 2 games of the Sixers series. Wait, that can't be right. It would have been, hold on, would have been game 5 and 6 of the Hawks series, and game 1.
And then game 1 of the Sixers where they blew them out by 30. So all of their 35-point blowout. Okay.
Yes.
And Andrew said what?
Andrew said 73 plus 73.
I'll go over.
Correct answer is plus 91, which means Bryce wins the week 6-5. Congratulations, Bryce. Wasn't it worth it? Staying up this late to get a win. Now Andrew has to go to bed at 1 a.m. all sad.
Oh, no.
As much of a competitor as I am, I don't even feel good about it. Like, Andrew's
Why
one of my
not?
favorite people in the world.
No, destroy him.
Like,
You
if I
destroyed
had beaten
him.
Sam, I'd be doing a dance, singing a song, doing something, celebrating. I would have already tweeted it out. Like, but with Andrew, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that was fun.
That was a hard fought battle. Back and forth.
That was a good one. That was a really good one. Okay, go listen to the Pistons Pulse because everybody listens to Game Theory already. Listen, let's promote the Pistons Pulse. It's a good podcast.
Thank you.
And then also Game Theory as well, and then the Game Theory Substack as well if you want extra draft content. It's y'all's time. We got the draft lottery Sunday, and then you're going to want to catch up because listen, if you're listening to this right now, you probably don't know a lot about these guys, and that's okay to admit. And if you don't know a lot about them, Game Theory Podcast is the way to go. Bryce, anything else you want to promote before we get out of here?
I mean, the only thing I'll say is I have 21 of my best game series video breakdowns on prospects in the class, and then I'll do more once we find out who's going to be in the class or not. Like, so those are like 8 to 12 minute, like just quick hitters over what a prospect did in their best game this last year in college basketball. So lots of good stuff over there, and we will have a mock draft on Sunday after the lottery on the Game Theory podcast.
Yeah.
So tune into that.
Because that's when mock draft season really starts. These ones where people just do the spin and you kind of make it up. No, I want the real thing, which we are going to get starting on Sunday.
I want the real thing.
And to your guys' point, like it starts with the Pacers pick because that does and where the Hawks one ends up and all of that. So it is kind of fun to do them once you realize where the teams are going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait. Hey, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show, just like this one from Knicks fan number 37. I love the show. Also, I think the Magic could get Buddy Hield for shooting. Thanks. You guys are a great pod. This next one is from Alpac Noseball. The Josh Robbins hate will not ... Low star reviews are for low star people. Keep it up. This is a Josh Robbins supporter. Shout out to Josh Robbins.
That was Josh Robbins writing in.
Shout out to Josh.
I had a panic attack. Again, this is all truth. I was on a walk whenever you were reading the Josh Robbins comments to Josh Robbins on the pod. And I was like, I really hope Alex doesn't do that for me because I don't have thick enough skin to do that. I purposely do not read the YouTube comments and stuff like that. So,
to be clear, Josh
to
made
Josh
me
Robbins
read that.
for taking that.
To be clear,
To be clear, I didn't do that. I didn't go search out negative comments about our guests to read to them.
No, I was able. I caught that eventually because at first I was like, well, "This is an interesting tactic by Alex."
This is a weird approach for a host. Last one, Billy Iverson. Slam and Jam equals the best pod. Great Saturday basketball show. The two guests this week were excellent. The hosts prepare ahead and make their guests shine. Thank you so much for that. Leave us a 5-star review and we'll read it on the pod. Would appreciate it. Okay, we'll be back next Saturday, probably talking draft. Probably talking about the draft, okay? It's going to be great. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you guys again next Saturday.